Most car projects die long before the engine fires. They don't die from rust, broken bolts, or missing parts. They die from blown budgets, bad planning, and owners who lose momentum because the project swallowed their time and money. You see the bodies everywhere. Cars stranded on jack stands, half-finished interiors, engines pulled and never reinstalled. Marketplace listings read like obituaries. Lost interest, needs finishing, ran out of time, ran out of money. Every gearhead knows that moment. You walk into the garage, stare at the mess, and feel the weight of the project pressing you down. The parts you bought sit untouched, the credit card bill sits on the bench. The excitement you felt at the start has faded into a dull ache. You wonder how the project slipped out of your control. But it didn't slip, it drifted. Builds drift when owners skip the planning phase. They jump straight into buying parts, tearing things apart, and chasing shiny upgrades. They treat the build like a shopping spree instead of a program. They act on impulse instead of intent. They follow trends instead of requirements. A car build needs discipline. It needs structure. It needs a mission. Without a mission, you're not building a car, you're burning money. This video gives you the framework to stop that drift. You'll learn how to plan like an engineer, budget like a program manager, and build like a craftsman. You'll learn how to keep your budget alive, on track, and under control. You'll learn how to avoid the trap that kills most builds. You'll learn how to finish. This isn't theory. This is the same process aerospace teams use when they design aircraft and OEMs use when designing cars. Your build deserves the same discipline. Before you touch a wrench, you need a plan. Not a wish list, not a dream, a plan. This episode gives you that mission. It gives you the structure to run your build like a program. It gives you the tools to stay in control. A build isn't a pile of parts. A build is a program. And if you run it like a program, you finish and have a car which you cherish. Let's get into it. Benchmark and OEM architecture. Every build needs a target. Without a target, you drift. A benchmark gives you a performance envelope to hit. A C6 Z06, for example, that's a Corvette for you folks not into C6s, works as a benchmark for a high grip, high power track build. The badge doesn't matter, the mission does. Once you pick the benchmark, break it down. Study it like an engineer. You can't build towards nothing. You need a target. You need numbers. You need a benchmark. Now that you have one, it's time to ask the hard question. Can your platform hit the target? Feasibility, trade studies, and in-house versus subcontract. A benchmark gives you a target. The next step tells you if your platform can reach it. This is the feasibility phase. Most builds fail here because owners skip this step. They assume potential instead of proving it. They trust hope instead of data. Hope drains wallets. Data protects them. I experienced this once back in the 80s when I tried to build a C3 Corvette into a Porsche 959 killer. A year into it, I realized the platform would never do all the things a 959 could do. Go figure. I sold the project car in disgust and switched platforms. That one didn't work out either, but that's a story for another time. If your platform isn't compatible with the hardware your benchmark uses, you need to know that now. Now with the feasibility study complete, we move to the trade study. This step separates fantasy from reality. Start with the must-haves. These items support the mission. They support reliability, they support safety, they support performance. These items sit at the top of the list. They get funded first. They get installed first. Next, list the nice-to-haves. These items improve the experience, but don't define the mission. These items wait until the must-haves are complete. They never jump the line. Finally, the won't-haves. These items kill budget. They kill schedules. They kill momentum. These items stay off the build. They stay out of the budget. They stay out of the garage. Now, assign the work. Every build has tasks you can do and tasks you should not touch. This step saves money and prevents disasters. Assign subcontract work. Use one rule. If a mistake costs more than the job, sub it. Next, you need the numbers and the timeline. Rough order of magnitude costing, scheduling, and the 3-2 rule. A build without numbers is fantasy. A build with numbers becomes a program. Programs survive, fantasies collapse. You need a cost model before you buy a single part. You need what's called a ROM estimate, a rough order of magnitude. A ROM estimate has 3 levels: low, expected, and high. The low estimate assumes everything goes right. This number rarely happens, but it sets the floor. The expected estimate reflects normal conditions. This number sits in the middle. It's the most realistic. The high estimate assumes the universe tests your patience. This number sets the ceiling. If you can't afford the high estimate, you can't afford the build. With the ROM complete, let's build the schedule. A build without a schedule drifts. You need a completion date, not a vague idea, a date. Pick the date, write it down, commit to it, and then work backwards as you schedule. Break the build into phases: baseline, foundation, performance, identity. Assign each phase a window. Assign each task a slot. Assign each dependency a place in the chain. Identify the critical path. The critical path defines the minimum time required to finish the build. Now we apply the 3-2 rule, what I like to call Glessner's law. And that states everything takes 3 times as long and costs twice as much. Now you have a plan. Now you have a date. Now you have numbers. Next, you move into the garage. Next, you build. Build layers and the 5 ways people go broke. Every project follows 4 layers. Layer 1, the baseline. Make the car run, stop, and steer. Nothing else matters until the baseline works. Layer 2, the foundation. This layer supports performance. Suspension, brakes, cooling, chassis stiffness, reliability fixes. Layer 3, performance. Power, gearing, aero. This layer delivers the mission. It pushes the car towards the benchmark. Layer 4, identity. Wheels, paint, interior, cosmetics. These items personalize the build. They finish the car, they make it yours. These 4 layers keep the build stable. They keep the money flowing in the right direction. They keep the project alive. Most builds fail because owners ignore the layers. They jump to layer 4, they buy wheels before fixing leaks, they buy power before fixing brakes, they buy identity before building capability. Now let's talk about the traps. These traps kill more builds than any mechanical failure. Trap 1, scope creep. While I'm in here, I'm gonna whatever. These 4 words destroy budgets. Trap number 2, buying parts out of order. This trap hits every new builder. Follow the layers. They exist for a reason. Trap 3, underestimating consumables. The fluids, the miscellaneous hardware, zip ties, all that stuff. Trap 4, chasing unicorn deals. Don't chase unicorns. Buy the part when the build needs it. Trap number 5, not accounting for downtime. These traps hit every builder. They hit the beginners, they hit veterans, they hit anyone who loses discipline. You now understand the structure of the build. You understand the traps, you understand the sequence. Next, you need the financial system that keeps the project alive. Budget, parts, tools, and psychology. A build survives on money, momentum, and discipline. You can plan well, you can choose the right benchmark, run a clean feasibility study, follow the layers, but if you mismanage the budget, the project still dies. Start with a monthly project allowance. Pick a number you can sustain for a year, not a month, a year. And split the allowance into 2 envelopes, parts and tools. Use the 3-month rule. If a part costs more than 3 months of your allowance, you must justify it with a mission requirement. Add a surprise fund. Builds always throw surprises. Now let's talk about buying parts. Smart buying saves money. Dumb buying burns it. You need a strategy. Buy used when the part has no wear surfaces. Brackets, housing, manifolds, pulleys, mounts. These parts last practically forever, and they cost less. They stretch the budget. They make sense. Buy new when failure is catastrophic. Bearings, pumps, sensors, gaskets, clutches. The list is endless. But these parts protect the build. They protect the engine. They protect you. Never gamble here. Buy in the off-season. Track parts cost less in winter. Drag parts cost less in fall. Street parts cost less after holidays. Off-season buying saves hundreds, sometimes thousands. Sellers know desperate buyers pay more. Don't be desperate. Don't buy parts before diagnosis. Don't buy parts before teardown. Don't buy parts because you assume the problem. Diagnose first, buy second. Guessing burns your money. Avoid sale traps, what I call the retail treadmill. Sales tempt you emotionally. The emotion kills budgets. Stick to the plan. Now the tool trap. Tools feel productive. They make you feel responsible. It feels like progress. But tools don't move the build unless the job demands them. You need discipline here. Buy tools only when the job requires them. Now the final piece, the psychology of finishing. Builds don't die from lack of money, they die from a lack of momentum. Momentum keeps you engaged. Momentum keeps you excited. You need a system that protects that momentum. First, finish one subsystem at a time. Don't scatter your effort. Don't bounce around between tasks. Don't chase novelty. Pick a subsystem, let's say the suspension, finish it, celebrate the win, and move on to the next. Use small wins to fuel progress. A clean engine bay, a repaired harness, fresh set of bushings, whatever it is. These wins matter. They push the project forward. They keep the build alive. Avoid stalls. Stalls drain your motivation. They create doubt. They trigger panic spending. When you feel a stall coming, shift to a float task. Remember those phases we talked about? Clean some hardware, organize the parts, prep some services, do anything that moves the build forward, but is not a big investment of time right then and there. Protect your mental bandwidth. Builds demand focus. They demand patience. They demand resilience. And when frustration rises, step back, reset, return with clarity. A calm builder makes smart decisions. A frustrated builder just burns money. The budget keeps the build alive. The part strategy keeps the build efficient. The tool discipline keeps the build lean. But the psychology keeps the build moving. You now have the financial system. You now have the mental system. You now have the structure that carries the project to the end. Next comes the ethos, the mindset that defines the entire gearhead gorilla approach. The gearhead gorilla ethos. A car isn't a pile of parts. It isn't a shopping list. It isn't a dream you chase when the mood hits. A build is a program. Programs succeed because they follow structure. They follow mission. They follow discipline. They follow truth. When you treat your project like a program, you finish. When you treat it like a fantasy, it collapses in a pile. You've seen the pattern. Builds die when owners drift. It drifts because they lack a benchmark. It drifts because they skip the feasibility study. Drift kills budgets. Drift kills projects. Now you have the antidote. You know how to pick a benchmark that defines the mission. You know how to break down that benchmark, understand the engineering behind it. You know how to run a feasibility study. You know how to run a trade study that separates the must-haves from the noise. You know how to assign work between yourself and the professionals. You know how to build a ROM that protects your wallet. You know how to build a schedule that protects your time. And you know how to apply that 3-2 rule and stay sane. You know the build layers, baseline, foundation, performance, and identity, and you know why they matter. You know the traps, scope creep, out-of-order parts, consumables, unicorn deals, downtime, etc. And now you know how to spot them. You know how to avoid them. You know the financial system, the monthly allowance, 2 envelopes, 3-month rule, the surprise fund. You know how to buy parts without wasting money. You know how to keep the build lean. You know the psychology. Momentum matters, small wins matter, finished subsystems matter, frustration kills. You know how to protect your mental bandwidth. You know how to keep the project alive. This method works because it respects reality. It respects physics and time and money. It respects the truth that every build demands more than you expect. More patience, clarity, more discipline, more honesty. But the payoff is worth it. When you finish a build, you don't just end up with a faster car. You end up with a sharper mind. You end up with stronger discipline. You end up with better judgment. You end up with a skill set that carries into every part of your life. You also end up with something rare, a car that reflects intent, a car that reflects purpose, reflects discipline. Not the algorithm, not the trend, not the hype. It reflects you. A build done right carries your fingerprints in every bolt, bracket, line, every decision. It carries the story of your discipline. It carries the story of your patience. It carries the story of your mission. That's the Gearhead Gorilla ethos. Build with intent, build with clarity, discipline, purpose. Build like an engineer. Build like a craftsman. Build like somebody who finishes. Speed isn't something you buy, although yes, it is expensive. Speed is something you build. This is Gearhead Gorilla. Hey, how do you keep your car builds on track and budget? Tell us in the comments. Also, please give us a big thumbs up, smash that like button, and don't forget to share this video with everyone. And thank you for spending your valuable time with us here at Gearhead Gorilla.